And now for my next number, I'd like to return to the
classic. Time.
Hey guys, it's Alex back with a new video, and I decided to talk about something a bit different today. These are 10 albums that I see in pretty much every collection. Now I'm only generalizing here. I'm not going off of what I think you need to see in these. Aren't albums I think you need in your collection. These are literally just 10 albums that when I used to back when I used to watch other people's record collection videos before I found the vinyl community, and I talked about this in my contest entry to Bill at the Vinyl Versus contest. I talked about it there. I would watch people's videos of their collections and it would all be the same sort of stuff, and I wasn't happy with what I was seeing all the time. Most of what's in here are in those type of videos, and these are albums that just 10 albums that I literally see in everybody's collections, people my age particularly. Some of these are more true than others, but we're going to get straight into this because well, there's some really obvious albums here. Like I said, this is not my suggestions for albums I think everybody should own. These are albums I legit think everybody will own. Two of them, actually, looking at it, two of them will probably only be people my age, but still, let's not talk any more, and let's just get straight into it. Kicking things off with Supertramp's Breakfast in America album. Everybody knows this. This was back when I was in the record shop. This was probably the biggest selling album of 2019. I would be asked for this all the time by everybody. Have you got Breakfast in America? Have you got Breakfast in America? And yeah, it's a great album. Gone Hollywood, Logical Song, Goodbye Stranger, Breakfast in America, Take the Long Way Home, just another nervous wreck. Just a fantastic album from beginning to end. But yeah, just one that I see in everyone's collection. One I think, well, at least an album I see in every single cheap bin, which I think is probably why I see it in a lot of people's collections, but definitely one that I see a lot. Another one, Prince's Purple Rain. This album, yeah, obviously the song title, the title track Purple Rain and When Doves Cry. Great, actually a very good album. You don't see it too often here anymore, but you used to see it all the time. Reissues of this 180 gram reissues are no longer expensive. They used to be a lot really expensive, but now they've come down quite a bit. This album though, I do see it in every single collection that I look at online, even on Instagram. A lot of people share this when they set up like accounts to share their vinyl. This is a one that they show off early. So yeah, Prince, Purple Rain, pretty good album. You can't go wrong with a bit of Prince, obviously, but yeah, it's one I do see in every single collection. And this is as well, Hotel California by the Eagles. It's either this or the Eagles' Greatest Hits. Mostly the Eagles' Greatest Hits, probably more so than this, you know, but I don't have a copy of the Greatest Hits, so I've got to go with Hotel California. A lot of people, obviously, most people that showed this have probably inherited it from their dad or something like that. But of course, it's still pretty much a staple in most people's collections. Like when they're just starting out, this is a starter kit record out album right here. So, Hotel California by the Eagles, another one I see everywhere. This next one is not as common with the older people, but more so with people that are younger, and that might be because they grew up listening to this band from when they debuted with their EPs right the way through to now, because they're still putting albums out. That's the 1975. I see their first and second albums all the time in people's collections. But this is probably the one I see more of, just because it has the song Chocolate on it, Girls, Robbers, She Way Out. They're just my favourites off the album, and there's 16 tracks here to listen to. This is one I see all the time, and this is a band I used to overlook because of those collections, and then I got into them last year and saw them earlier on this year, and now I'm a fan, and you'll start seeing them in my collection as well. And this is actually the band that also inspired this video, because I do see them in damn near every single collection that I see. Pretty obvious one here, Dark Side of the Moon. I think everybody, young and old, owns this album. Doesn't matter who you are. This is another pretty staple album. Of course, you've got the songs Money on this album, Us and Them, Time. Just their best, and maybe not their best, but their most popular work. But yeah, an album that you definitely see in every record collection under the sun. And I think it's one that people pick up early as well. I know I did. So gotta have that in the collection. Another one that people tend to pick up early doors in their collections is Abbey Road by the Beatles. You see a lot of Beatles in collections. Everyone's got a Beatles album that they love, or at least 10 Beatles songs that they own. But this is the one I see the most of in collections, whether it's an older pressing, a newer pressing, whatever. I see this one all the time, and I don't blame people for liking this one. The last album they put out as a group before they split, Come Together, is on this album. Maxwell Silverhammer. Here Comes the Sun is on this album. Mean Mr. Mustard is on this album. So yeah, I mean, it is one you see everywhere. It was the album they put out when Paul McCartney allegedly died. As I'm sure if you know this album, you know the rumours or whatever. But this one, you just see it all the time. You see a lot of Beatles albums out there in people's collections, but this is the main one. I think people mainly pick it up for Here Comes the Sun, but I wouldn't know. I'd know I have this for Here Comes the Sun, because that is my favourite Beatles song. But that's why I have it. Alright, we'll move on swiftly onto Fleetwood Mac Rumours. Yeah, again, another, much like Dark Side of the Moon, I think everybody, young and old, has a copy of this album in their collection. I'm waiting to find somebody that doesn't own a copy of this on some kind of format. I know Naz Nomad, David Michael, he owns multiple copies of this on every format. But this, for me, is one that it took me a while to get into. I literally just picked it up because everybody else had it in their collections and I didn't like it on first listen. It literally took me so many tries to get into it, and it was the song Don't Stop that actually got me into this album. And then Go Your Own Way, The Chain, all great songs here. So of course you see more than just this Fleetwood Mac album, but much like the Beatles, this is sort of the main one that you see in a lot of collections, so of course I'm going to show that one off. Another new band that you see amongst people, typically see more with people my age, and that's Arctic Monkeys. This is AM. This is the album that they put out in 2013. Not my favourite Arctic Monkeys album, I'll be the first to admit. This album used to be my favourite, and then as I listened to it more and listened to their other albums more as well, this sort of moved down a bit in my estimation. However, this is a lot of people's introduction to the Arctic Monkeys. It's my introduction to them, and a lot of people will have this album because it's the one to own. It's literally become up there with Abbey Road, Rumours, and Dark Side of the Moon for must-own albums now. It's really that big of an album for Arctic Monkeys that they sold enough copies of this album to take a hiatus for 5 years, so they must have done something right. But yeah, again, one that you see in a lot of collections. You definitely see it a lot on my channel because I show this album a lot. But still a good album, still a good one to own, but I just oversee it. It's been overplayed. The lead single off of here, Do I Want to Know, was, well, the big single off of this album, and it is just overplayed. So while it's still a good album, it's one you just get tired of seeing, particularly in young people collections, because you see that one all the time. Another one, Bob Marley's Legend, another fantastic album, but this one again, not as common as the rest, but another one you see all the time, because you can have a greatest hits of anybody, and a lot of people who aren't that into reggae, even if you're not into reggae, you seem to like Bob Marley, particularly his hits. And what other compilation do you really have that has all of Bob Marley's hits? You don't, so that's a good one to have there. And for the final album, I'm going to end it on this one because it only seems appropriate, given that I'm talking about albums you see in everybody's collection, and this is quite literally the biggest selling album of all time. Michael Jackson, Thriller, of course, comes with the tracks Thriller, Beat It, Billie Jean, also has The Girl Is Mine, from Paul McCartney, Wanna Be Starting Something, Baby Be Mine, PYT, my favourite song off of this album, just fantastic stuff. And I can see why everybody has this in their collections. This was kind of an early one for me when it came to Michael. I know this is the first Michael album that I owned when it came to owning a Michael album. But yeah, you can't see a collection without seeing Thriller. It's literally, like I said, the biggest selling album of all time. Still hit. I think Eagles' Greatest Hits overtook it in the US, but here in the UK, it is still the biggest selling album of all time, and that's what I'm going off of. So there we go. There we have it. 10 albums you see in every record collection, because literally, you see these. Everybody loves these albums. Everybody knows these albums. They're all albums we probably pick up when we're younger and get into, or two of these particularly are ones that one of them I got into when it came out. The other one I had to get into recently, but so happy that I have all these that I can show you. If you want to see more videos like this, or maybe another installment to this, or anything similar, or if you've got any other suggestions down in the comments, or any other video suggestions, then just leave them down in the comments. So with that's going to do it for this video. Guys, thanks for tuning back into the channel. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed. If you're not subscribed here already, make sure you are, because this channel, while the UK is in lockdown, is only going to get better and improved more upon. So that's going to do it. Make sure your notifications are switched on so you never miss an upload. And with that, I'm going to see you guys again very, very soon. Peace.